Nissan was one of the first car makers to introduce a mainstream electric vehicle in Australia. You might remember the cute Leaf hatchback that launched in Australia all the way back in 2010. Although two generations of the Leaf have come and gone, Nissan still hasn't introduced another EV in Australia yet. However, this has now changed. Presenting the Nissan Ariya. First revealed in 2020, this electric SUV has been available in other markets for a number of years now, but it's only launching in Australia as emission regulations start to crunch. Has it been worth the wait? Let's check it out. At launch, Nissan is offering 4 versions of the Ariya in Australia. Pricing starts around $56,000 before on roads for the entry-level Engage trim and extends to about $72,000 before on roads for the flagship Evolve E-Force trim. This is more expensive than top-selling rivals like the BYD C-Line 7 and Tesla Model Y. It's more on par with the likes of the Zeekr 7X. Standard equipment includes 19-inch alloy wheels, dual 12.3-inch screens, wireless Apple CarPlay and wired Android Auto, a wireless phone charger, 6-speaker sound system and dual-zone climate control. Stepping up to the Advance brings a hands-free power tailgate, 10-speaker Bose sound system, heated front seats and steering wheel, as well as black cloth and synthetic leather upholstery. The Advance Plus gains a larger battery pack as standard, a panoramic glass sunroof, power sliding centre console, ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, as well as black synthetic leather upholstery with suede inserts. Lastly, the flagship Evolve E-Force gets 20-inch alloy wheels, adaptive high beam, a digital rear view mirror, electric steering column adjustment, as well as blue Nappa leather upholstery. That's a generous spread of variants and none of them miss out on the basics. For the full specification details, read my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au. When the Ariya was revealed 5 years ago, it started a new design language for the Nissan brand. Since then, almost every model from the Nissan lineup has taken at least some element of this car's design. However, given this car is a few years old now, it's starting to look a little bit same in a growing sea of competition. However, in person, the Ariya is stunning. I particularly like these striking LED headlights that are really slim, as well as this gloss black faux grille. Around the side, it looks like there is a rounded roofline that's almost coupe-like. That's due to an illusion of this bodyline that goes all the way from the front to the rear. We'll have to wait and see what this means for practicality on the inside. At the back, the design is far from revolutionary. The biggest thing you'll see is this rear spoiler. It's fairly large and intricately designed. It's there to improve aerodynamics, which in turn boosts range. While the exterior of this car is relatively generic looking, the interior is honestly stunning. I just want to get this out of the way first. I'm here in the Evolve, which is the top spec, and it comes with this beautiful blue setup. I don't know if it necessarily pairs with every single exterior paint color, but this just looks so pretty. First up, let's talk about the seats. They are blue and they stand out really proudly. And then it's paired lovely with this suede dash. In terms of the steering wheel, it's a leather wrapped unit that feels so buttery soft and it's a joy to hold for a long drive. For the instrument cluster setup, there are two 12.3-inch screens that look high res and great. There's an interesting curve through them that makes it look interesting. I didn't notice it until much later on with my drive. Other things to note here with the interior in terms of design is this center console setup. There's this faux wood setup that has haptic touch buttons underneath it. It's an interesting look, but it looks very clean. There's also this center console design that in the top 2 trims slides just like this. It can go forwards and backwards. It's an interesting quirk. I don't know whether I'd be using it all the time, but honestly, all of this just looks stunning. Now for practicality. I'm sitting here in my driving position, and the first thing I notice straight away is the seating position is so high. My head is almost in the roof, which I don't know is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm only 6 foot tall. I'm not ridiculously tall. For someone that may be taller than me, they might be struggling for headroom. However, the seat itself is glorious. It's really comfortable, lots of electric adjustability, heated, ventilated here in the top spec. It's really good. In terms of the digital instrument cluster, it's classic Nissan, and there are a bunch of different modes and layouts that you can cycle through, and all of them look really nice. Moving across, this touchscreen multimedia system is also classic Nissan. Every other Nissan model has a version of this almost now, and it's good. I like it, and you're able to navigate easily through all of the menus and you won't get lost. Thankfully, there's wireless Apple CarPlay, which makes connecting my iPhone very easily. It's worth noting there is only wired Android Auto, which might be a bit of a hassle if you're an Android phone user. In terms of everything else here up front, while I was mentioning that this faux wood-looking finish here on the center console looks great, using it is a little bit of a weird thing, because while it is good having all of these buttons here for the climate control, you need to use the touchscreen for the heated seats and the heated steering wheel. You can program it so it's like an auto that they automatically switch on, but I like to have it present on the screen all the time, and it doesn't show up when you're in wireless Apple CarPlay. Other things, the center console in terms of practicality is, it looks like it's really quite substantial, but in all honesty, there's not a great deal of storage, which is a bit disappointing. There are 2 cup holders with a little blind here to cover them. You can slide it back and forth. Here with the center armrest, there's a smartphone charger and then a tiny little bit of storage. That is it. And there's a little bit further underneath here with a 12-volt socket and some USB-C ports. And there's a big open section here at where my feet are. I would expect better, because there's been a whole emphasis on how this slides and moves and how it's meant to customize the space here up front and make it like a living room. I would expect more in terms of storage, because all you really get are these 2 little glove boxes. There's one here on the passenger side and there's one here on the center. Here in the second row, it's a relatively nice space. I'm behind my own driving position, and as you can see, I have plenty of legroom. Although I would like a little bit more toe room. There's not much space underneath the seats in front. Then another thing is headroom. It's fine, but the sunroof does impede a little bit of the room once you move forward a little bit. I guess that's the con of having the panoramic glass sunroof. For the seat itself, it is quite laid back and very relaxed. The bench seat itself is also a little bit flat. What this means is when you're being driven around and you go around a corner, you can slide around and play corners, which I'll make that up to you whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, because you'll be leaning on your fellow passengers. But the seat itself is fairly comfortable and plush. Thanks to this car being built on a dedicated electric architecture, there is a completely flat floor and there's a minimal hump here for the center seat. So you could have 3 people in the back here. It might just get a little bit squishy here for shoulder room. In terms of amenities here in the second row, there are some air vents, USB-C ports, heated outboard seats here in this trim, as well as a fold-down armrest with some cup holders. At the back, there is a hands-free power tailgate that opens just like this. In terms of the boot space itself, I have an all-wheel drive trim here. It's not completely standout, but that's due to the rear electric motor. The single motor front-wheel drive versions do have better boot space. For the area itself, it's fine. It's a little sandwiched here, and as you can tell, there is no load lip whatsoever, so that makes getting things in and out really easy. In terms of amenities, there are a few lights and some hooks. Unfortunately, like many EVs, there is no spare wheel under the boot floor. Instead, there's only a tyre repair kit. There are 2 electric powertrain configurations available in the local Ariya lineup. The Ariya Engage and Advance are powered by a single front-mounted electric motor that produces 160 kilowatts and 300 newton meters. The Advance Plus, with its bigger battery pack, bumps this power figure up a tad to 178 kilowatts. If you want all-wheel drive, you need to step all the way up to the flagship Evolve E-Force, which gains a dual motor setup. It has total system outputs of 290 kilowatts and 600 newton meters. Nissan claims this Ariya trim can do the 0 to 100 km/h sprint in 5.6 seconds. In addition to the 2 electric powertrain options, there are also 2 battery pack choices. The Ariya Engage and Advance come with a 63 kWh lithium-ion battery with a WLTP claimed range of 385 kilometers. The Ariya Advance Plus and Evolve E-Force, on the other hand, get a larger 87 kWh lithium-ion battery. WLTP claimed range is of 504 kilometers and 487 kilometers respectively. All variants come with a Type 2 CCS combination charge port with a maximum DC charge rate of 130 kilowatts. This is far from the quickest out there. AC charging is offered at rates up to 7.4 kilowatts on the Engage, Advance and Advance Plus trims as standard. 22 kilowatt AC charging is optional on the Advance Plus and standard on the Evolve E-Force, which is handy. Energy consumption depends on the variant and ranges between 18.4 to 20.8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. During our testing of the flagship Evolve E-Force all-wheel drive trim, we saw 18 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which would give a theoretical range of 483 kilometers. That is pretty close to the claim. Alrighty, we're behind the wheel of the Nissan Ariya, and I just want to get this out of the way first up. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to drive every single variant here at the launch. They've only been the ones with the larger 87 kilowatt hour battery pack, so that is the Advance Plus and the Evolve. First up, with the electric motor in the Advance Plus, it's honestly dialed more towards comfort, and it's probably all that anyone would ever need. There's enough oomph to get going, and there's also plenty of rolling acceleration too. It's honestly a similar story here with the Evolve E-Force, which is the all-wheel drive version of this car. There is plenty of power underfoot. So 600 Newton meters is a lot. This car is also capable of doing 5.6 seconds from a 0 to 100 sprint standpoint, so it's definitely not slow. But it's dialed more towards comfort, and it ramps up the acceleration. It won't snap your neck, because that's not what this car is all about. In terms of regen braking, there are a number of different modes. There's drive, which is normal of course, B, which increases the regen a little bit more, and then there's also an E-pedal drive mode, which does kind of sound like it would be a one-pedal drive mode, and to some extent it is, but you do need to use the brake pedal to come to a complete stop. All of the regen modes are quite seamless in terms of operation. You're not going to be slamming the brakes out of nowhere and be wondering why that happened. It's very calm and serene and comfortable, which is what this car is all about. This even flows on from how regen braking transforms to traditional friction brakes when you come to that complete stop. There's no awkward pause or jutter or awkward interaction. It's all quite seamless, which makes this car feel honestly just like a regular combustion car to drive. So it doesn't feel like a spaceship in like some other EVs do. Now, in terms of suspension, it's a bit of a mixed bag. The lower trims with the smaller alloy wheels, they feel very comfortable and composed. There's a lot of chunky tire to play around with, so it's not super firm, but it's not super soft. It balances quite nicely. However, this top spec with the larger 20-inch alloy wheels, you can feel a big difference between the two. There's probably just not quite enough tire to play around with, unfortunately, so that makes some of the harsher bumps stand out more, and you can be thrown around a little bit more. So my pick would be the ones with the smaller wheels, but I think the 20-inch alloy wheel design looks a little nicer. The effects of the suspension are made worse when you add more people or more weight to the car. In here with the 20-inch alloy wheels, with 4 people on board, it honestly gets a fair bit of motion going on, and you can feel a lot of the bumps and road imperfections, which is not necessarily great for a car that prides itself on being comfortable and a lounge-like experience. With the steering, it is electrically adjusted, and there are different feels that you can program with the different drive modes. All of them feel quite nice, and it's honestly quite direct, which makes you want to push driving this car a little bit harder. However, when you do, it is apparent that this isn't a sports car. With the front-wheel drive trims, it is very apparent that they are front-wheel drive. When you push them in the corners, you get a lot of traction control intervention, and it cuts the power. With the all-wheel drive, there is more power and torque underfoot, and it feels more comfortable and confident through the bends. It's also just a better tourer overall if you're doing more dynamic driving. However, if you do, be prepared to pay for that with a higher energy consumption. For visibility, as I was mentioning before, you sit up really high here in the cabin from the driver's seat. So ahead you have a really good view. You can see what's happening, and given that this car is based on a dedicated electric architecture, there are minimal overhangs front and rear. So you can really place what's in front of you very easily. In terms of visibility as well, this flows on with the high driving position to the side. Seeing out the side is very easily done. And then over the shoulder checks are good because the rear side windows are good. And then out the back, the envelope isn't massive, but I can still see easily out. Something I want to note about this car compared to its competition: there have been no bings or bongs or jerks at the steering wheel behind the wheel, which has been really great, and honestly I've loved it while I've been driving this car, because some of its competition is just so overbearing, and with the safety nannies, it's quite refreshing to be driving a car that allows me to just drive. Lastly, in terms of NVH, which stands for noise, vibration and harshness, this is something that's blown me away with this car. It's incredibly quiet. Obviously, it's normally quiet given it's an electric car, but when you're driving an electric car, some of them are noticeably louder because you can pick up on more of the things that's happening beyond the combustion engine. But here in the cabin, it is so quiet in this car. There's barely any road noise. It's quite serene. Overall, as a package, this car doesn't reinvent the formula in terms of an EV. It might have back in 2020 when it was revealed, but the competition has caught up now. The Nissan Ariya has a 5-star NCAP safety rating based on testing conducted by Euro NCAP in 2022. Standard kit includes 7 airbags, autonomous emergency braking, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, adaptive cruise control, driver attention alert, as well as front and rear parking sensors with a reversing camera. Stepping up to the Ariya Advance and beyond brings a surround view camera. This is pretty standard on the safety front. For the full safety details, read my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au. Like other Nissans, the Ariya is covered by a 10-year, 300,000 kilometre warranty, providing you service at authorised Nissan service centres when required. It's only 5 years of coverage if you don't service with Nissan. The battery pack, on the other hand, is covered by an 8-year, 160,000 kilometre warranty. There's also up to 10 years of roadside assistance if you service at an authorised Nissan service centre. Logbook servicing is required every 12 months or 20,000 kilometres, whichever comes first, and the first 5 services are capped at $299 each. This is a fairly compelling after-sales package, plus Nissan has a substantial dealer network. While it may be a few years overdue, I'm glad the Nissan Ariya has finally arrived in Australia. With a comfortable demeanour and a quiet luxury feel, it's a great step up from your regular electric mid-size SUV. It's also really handy that this feels like a regular car that just happens to be electric. It'll be interesting to see whether it's too little too late for Nissan, because there are so many options out there now on the market. It doesn't help that the asking price and the standard equipment list doesn't necessarily stand out from the crowd. Thank you for watching. For more and to read my detailed written review, head to carsguide.com.au.